in 1964, got a job on a radio station. They needed somebody from midnight to, must have been 4 or 6 a.m. The station policy was you can only play the same top 10 songs over and over and over again. I was so bored that I announced on the air, if anybody's listening to this program and would like to engage in a little bit of a banter, just a little discussion, not much, just 30 seconds, it would be great. And I'll give you $25, first person to call us in. This is before talk radio, by the way. And nobody called in. I upped it to $50. Nobody called in. I got up to $100. Not a soul called in. And I had a feeling of what so many people have felt and continue to feel for years, of desperately wanting to be heard. And nobody is listening. There's a huge amount of anger and frustration in the United States. It's been growing for years. People are worried about their jobs, they're worried about their wages. They feel like they don't have a voice in deciding anything that pertains to them, politically or economically. I pick this up everywhere I go. Americans all over the country are asking, how can we make our voices heard? The name of the book is Saving Capitalism. I've got two kind of reactions just to the title. Saving Capitalism, wait a minute, that implies that there's something wrong with capitalism. And there are others who say, why would you want to save capitalism?
Robert Reich, professor of public policy at UC Berkeley and former Secretary of Labor under President Clinton.
You have captured this moment in American culture and American politics very well in this book. It's saving capitalism for the many, not the few.
We got about 20 seconds. Can you define?
We have a lot more time than that.
Can you define the aspirations of the middle class today as opposed to 30 years ago?
I think the aspiration of the middle class today is almost exactly what it was 30 years ago. That is, let's have a better life. If I'm working hard, I want my children to have a better life. Upward mobility is what people are expecting from the system, but they aren't getting it. Most Americans now have severe doubts about the system. They think the system's rigged. The real issue is the system working for most people, or is it working for a very small group, becoming smaller and smaller at the top?
Robert Reich, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Former Labor Secretary under President Clinton, Professor.
These days, a lot of people certainly know the game is rigged. They hear that, they feel it, but they don't know exactly how it's rigged. I wanted to go to where people didn't really know me, my books. I wanted to go to places where I could actually interact. I didn't expect to sell many books, but I did hope to learn something. Hi, you. Nice to see you.
Great to finally
How are
meet
you?
Look who we found.
Good morning. Welcome to Kansas City.
Well, Reverend, thank you. Hi, Claudia. Your chair of the board.
I am a part of this work because of my family and my community. My youngest son, Paul, married and has 4 little children, has worked all of his life. But unlike when I started to work as a young person, he seems to find jobs that don't have livable wage. They're not full-time jobs. He works 60 hours plus a week to take care of his wife and 4 kids and still struggles a lot, even to the point that he's had to move back in my house with his family of 6 at one point because they continue to struggle. His wife has like $100,000 in debt in student loans. She has a master's degree. She has no job. It is not an uncommon story in our community.
Unfortunately, Claudia, I'm hearing it all the time. And it's a story that affects huge numbers of Americans.
A lot of these things that we're talking about, to me, is all a spin-off of an economy that has been immoral from its inception. It was not designed to include everyone in a fair way in the sense of access. How do you reform something that's immoral at its core?
There's nothing inherent in an economic system that makes it either immoral or moral, or good or bad. It depends on how it's organized. And if it's organized for people, then it can be a good and moral system. Our American economic system, capitalism, is a system based on private property and a free exchange of goods and services.
One of America's greatest strengths is our free market.
Let the free market system decide.
We all believe in the free markets. That's what our capitalist system is about.
The law of supply and demand, operating unimpeded by government.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Few ideas have more profoundly poisoned the minds of so many as the notion of a free market existing somewhere in the universe into which the government intrudes. There's no such thing as a free market without government making the rules of the game. What kind of rules? Rules governing property, monopoly, contracts, bankruptcy, and enforcement. Let's take property. Until the 1860s, human beings were lawful property in the United States. It took years of activism and a civil war, but Americans finally made slavery illegal. Or take bankruptcy. If you're big business, you can declare bankruptcy over and over again to protect your assets. But if you're a student, you can't reorganize your debt in bankruptcy. Or if you're a homeowner who's underwater because the entire market has collapsed, you can't use bankruptcy. It's illegal. These rules don't come from nature. They reflect the interests of those with the most power, which means they